Tonight, they've traded threats, but will they sit down to talk about the possibility of peace? After the US seized an Iranian cargo ship, Tehran has threatened to pull out of ceasefire talks. That's as new data shows very few vessels made it through the Strait of Hormuz, even after Tehran declared it was open. So, will the public bluster give way to diplomacy behind closed doors? The US Vice President is expected to travel to Pakistan tomorrow. Will the Iranian delegation do the same? And coming up, music in the rubble, daily pro-regime rallies and a shortage of anti-anxiety drugs. What life is like inside Iran after 40 days of bombardment. And we'll be hearing more about the shadowy group, possibly linked to Iran, that's claimed responsibility for arson attacks on Jewish sites in the UK. Plus,
I accept that information that I should have been before the House, but I did not mislead the House, and that's why I've set out the account in full.
the Prime Minister on the ropes, forced to deny lying to Parliament about the appointment of Peter Mandelson as US Ambassador. And the image that prompted the Israeli military to apologise to all Christians. Find out what happened. Coming up on The World with me, Jonathan Samuels. Hello, a very good evening. I'm Jonathan Samuels. We've got used to mixed messages from the White House and from Tehran. We've come to expect public declarations from leaders threatening attack or retaliation and a determination to never surrender, because that is all part of the theatre of war. And so is this, an Iranian cargo ship seized by US Marines. America showing it will do whatever is necessary to impose its blockade, an image that Iran won't want with the ceasefire due to expire. The US Vice President will reportedly travel to Pakistan tomorrow for the second time. It's still unclear whether there will be an Iranian delegation for him to speak to, because in public the Iranian government say they have no plans to take part in negotiations. We'll be live in Washington in a moment, but first our correspondent Sally Lockwood sent this report.
This is where current tensions meet head-on. The US Navy issuing 6 hours of warnings to an Iranian-flagged cargo ship
vacate your engine room,
attempting to pass the Strait of Hormuz. And then this.
Okay, we gave the flare. Now
When the vessel failed to cooperate, the American Navy destroyer fired at its engine room. In a first use of force by the US military in its blockade of the strait, American Marines dropped from helicopters and took control of the vessel after it was disabled in the Gulf of Oman. The US Central Command sharing video of the nighttime operation. This clash has consequences far beyond this critical waterway. Iran has warned it will retaliate, and hopes for a second round of talks between the US and Iran in Pakistan look in jeopardy.
So far, while I am here, we have no plans for the next rounds of negotiations, and no decision has been made in this regard. You witnessed that an attack was carried out on an Iranian commercial vessel. All of these are considered clear violations of the ceasefire.
Footage obtained by Sky News at the weekend shows a build-up in the strait. Using marine tracking data, ship positions and imagery, Sky's data and forensics team identified the types of vessels stationary there. The ship in the middle of our filming is an Iran-flagged landing craft. Its destination is Sirik in Iran, according to tracking data. To its left is the Sahel Pol II, a Bolivia-flagged deck cargo ship. And just behind it is the B-Star 1, another landing craft, currently flagged to St. Kitts and Nevis in the Caribbean, which left Port Rashid in Dubai on the 16th of April. It's been a confusing and volatile picture for commercial shipping this weekend. Islamabad is preparing for more talks between the US and Iran, despite mixed signals from Tehran on whether they will attend. Donald Trump has issued new threats to target power plants and bridges if a deal isn't reached. while Iran's president has said the country won't submit to force. With the ceasefire due to end tomorrow night, many in the region are hoping diplomacy will again step in at the 11th hour. Sally Lockwood, Sky News, Dubai.
Let's go to Washington, join our US correspondent James Matthews. And James, the US president talking up the likely impact of a new deal with Iran today, but that's unlikely to be agreed anytime soon.
Yeah, Jonathan, he's posted on Truth Social in the past hour, Donald Trump, and he gives a good impression, I think, of a president playing for time. He's spoken again about the length of wars going back through time and has said that he isn't going to let the Democrats rush the United States into making a deal that's not as good as it could have been, he says. He said that he'd read he was under pressure to make a deal. This is not true, he wrote. Of course, he is under pressure, not least because the clock is ticking. As Sally said, that ceasefire is due to end tomorrow evening. There is still a degree of uncertainty about the meeting itself, certainly surrounding the logistics, if nothing else. This morning, the president, he told the New York Post that J.D. Vance, the vice president, was on his way to Islamabad. Then officials guided the media saying he's actually due to travel tomorrow. So we've had mixed messages here. We've had them in Iran as well, of course. They're saying, or have said, they weren't participating. But they have told the New York Times they will go if J.D. Vance is going to be there. So, you know, there is some promise, but also confusion, clearly, even though we are led to believe by US officials that behind the scenes there are constructive discussions taking place. Donald Trump, he was asked by Bloomberg about the ceasefire. He said it was highly unlikely he would extend it, but he didn't say he wouldn't. It is fragile, that's clear, more so since the antagonism over the weekend, the US firing on and seizing that Iranian cargo tanker. Part of the problem, I think, Jonathan, has to be the question for the Americans of who they are dealing with, who holds sway between the politicians they're talking to and Iran's IRGC. Where does power lie in terms of the negotiations themselves and who could be trusted to implement any outcome?
Interesting. James, for the moment, thank you. Well, when mass protests erupted across Iran in January, the message from huge numbers of Iranians to their rulers was very clear. It's time to go. Then, as now, an internet blackout made communication with the outside world difficult. But Sky News has managed to get in touch with some Iranians, and there seems to be a shift in support for the regime since the war started. Here's our international correspondent, John Sparks.
The sky has cleared and the bombing has stopped. A sense of calm has filtered through the Iranian capital. But there's little joy in this city.
حالمون مثل غریقیه که برای چند ثانیه سرش رو از آب بیرون آورده تا فقط یک نفس عمیق بکشه قبل از اون که دوباره به زیر کشیده بشه.
It's difficult to speak to people in Iran. The internet has been cut for the past 6 weeks. But a small number are trying to talk to us. They've managed to post on social media and send messages via the web.
صدای پرنده ها دوباره بلند شده و با تدی و کلایی اومدیم پیاده روی زندگی دوباره برگشته.
The city is calmer after the news of ceasefire. Young girls without hijab are enjoying their latte macchiato under the sun, while black-veiled women wave their Iranian flag in the government-sponsored rallies at the main squares.
After a bombardment of 40 consecutive days, people in Tehran are emerging from the shadows to drink coffee, to reacquaint with friends. But a shaky ceasefire offers them little or no certainty. City residents have been sending us messages.
و بسیار هنوز هم نگرانم و حداقل بعد از این 40 روز ما میتونیم 2 هفته شاید بتونیم یکم شبها بخوابیم.
حالا هوا هم که دیگه خودت میدونی دیگه این بلا تکلیفیه و این تهدیدا و زدن زیرساخت و این دور بودن از خونه زندگی و تعطیلی کار و آینده نگران اینا همه وحشتناکه واقعا.
The Americans and the Israelis trained much of their firepower on the capital, a massive bombardment on a densely populated city. And the experience was captured by a Red Crescent paramedic called Ali. "I wish someone would tap me on the shoulder and say, 'Get up, it was a dream,'" he wrote in a message that accompanied this post. And residents have also been documenting the aftermath. This man is the owner of a Persian music school.
می‌خواستم آخرین صدایی که از آموزشگاهم بیاد صدای موشک و جنگ نباشه. آخرین صدای سازی باشه که توش نواختم. مرسی.
He then plays this instrument, a kamanche, in the ruins of his own school. It is a small act of defiance. That's been repeated in other parts of the city. The authorities claim that tens of thousands of civilian targets in Tehran have been destroyed. Here, professors at Shahid Beheshti University conduct classes outside the remains of an academic building. Far from threatening the regime, the US-Israeli bombing has arguably strengthened it. Here we see giant posters of the girls killed in a strike on a school in the city of Menab, a calamity that has prompted widespread horror. And the regime has sought to harness this outrage in pro-government rallies held nightly, while state media broadcasts messages from unlikely supporters.
دلیل نمیشه اگه من حجاب ندارم سمت ایران نباشم. ایران وطن منه. ایران که وطن این همه آدمای مذهبی نیست. منم دارم تو ایران زندگی میکنم.
Women without headscarves pictured here, backing the country's ultra-conservative leadership.
اگه قرار خونه منو بزنن منم باید توش باشم بمیرم حالا به شهادت برسم هرچی ولی ترجیح میدم ترک نکنم.
The regime's many critics now find themselves in a difficult position, stuck between a government they loathe and a war that's caused immense suffering.
مردم که واقعا دوست دارن این اتفاق بیفته اینا نمونن و همه امیدشون خیلی یا هر کسی که من میشناسم تو هر سطح و تو هر جایگاهی همینطوریه ولی واقعا این بلا تکلیفی خیلی اذیت کننده است.
For the people of this mega city, the sky itself is a source of fear. That's what 40 days of bombing does. We spoke to a resident called Layla by phone.
I need to use my pills. The drugs and pills in Iran are very, very expensive right now. You can't find fluoxetine, Acentra, citalopram. That's why I think most people are in the same situation as me.
Trapped between war and peace, by the bombs and a government that demands total obedience. It seems the residents of Tehran have nowhere left to go. John Sparks, Sky News.
A fascinating insight into life in Iran. Well, Elliot Abrams served as special US representative for Iran during President Trump's first term. Great to have you on the programme this evening. Thank you very much for your time. And I guess the first question is, do you think these talks will happen?
I actually do. I think both sides would like to bring the fighting to an end or keep it from blowing up again. So I do think they will happen. I think the problem is there will be compromises needed on both sides. And we're not really sure who has the power to make compromises on the Iranian side.
Well, it's a very good point because Iran won't want to go into these talks if it is being told to essentially capitulate. What would success look like, do you think, in these negotiations for Iran?
For Iran, it would mean that the deal would look a lot like the 2015 deal. That is, it would not have anything to do with Iran's missile program or its support for proxies like Hezbollah. It would deal only with the nuclear program. It would not be permanent, whether it's 10 years, 15 years, whatever, it would not be permanent. And the United States would presumably promise not to bomb Iran again as long as it keeps the deal. I think that, that's a reasonably good deal from the Iranian point of view.
And for the US, it seems increasingly clear Donald Trump is desperate to get out of this now and find an off-ramp. What would he accept?
Well, the 2015 Obama deal kept Iran enriching. In this agreement, they would have to say for a number of years, again, 15 is the number I'm hearing, that they would not enrich uranium and would downblend or otherwise eliminate the 440 kilos of highly enriched uranium they have. The president would then call it, of course, a great victory and say this is much better than the Obama deal because they can't enrich for almost a generation, and I'm getting the highly enriched uranium out of there somehow or eliminating it anyway. I don't think, I would say two groups of people I can think of aren't going to be very happy with that. It's a lot of Republican senators and Israel.
But of course, both sides are under huge pressure, aren't they? Iran, from an economic point of view, their economy is on its knees. They want that sanctions relief. But also, we know that the midterms are getting ever closer for President Trump.
They are, and he would like the stock market up and gasoline prices down. But you're right about the sanctions. I mean, that's going to be a really tough sell in among many conservative Republicans, because you are, after all, enriching the regime. And this was a criticism that Republicans made of the Obama agreement. So I think there will be a lot of people on the right, if this is more or less the agreement, who will say to President Trump, or will write, that it wasn't worth having a war to achieve only this.
Well, that's the danger, isn't it? That you've got to get something out of this. There's no point in going back to the status quo, because then people will say, well, what was the point of any of this war in the first place?
Right. And his answer will be, well, we've got this huge amount of highly enriched uranium dealt with, and there won't be any enrichment, and they're not going to have a nuclear weapons program for 10 or 20 years. And that is an achievement. That really is an achievement. Whether it is a big enough achievement to justify the war, we have, for the United States, 13 American dead. And of course, it cost billions and billions of dollars. That's going to be the debate. Republicans will, at least in public, defend it. Democrats will attack it. But I think behind the scenes, there'll be a lot of conservative unhappiness as well.
And a brief thought from you, if you would, on the Strait of Hormuz, because this war has shown, hasn't it, how Iran can successfully control the strait. How will that feature in the negotiations?
Well, it will have to be completely open. There won't be any toll booths. But I do think there'll be an effort on the part of a lot of the Gulf Arab nations who are oil exporters to build new exits without the Gulf. For example, I think the Iraqis will go west through Syria to the Mediterranean. And I think the Saudis will double the size of their own pipeline so that they don't have to use the Strait of Hormuz. I think there'll be an effort to permanently reduce its importance as a choke point.
Of course, but the talking does have to start. We shall see what the next couple of days bring. Elliot Abrams, Special Representative for Iran in President Trump's first term. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You're watching The World with me, Jonathan Samuels. Still to come, with investigators looking into Iranian links to a London synagogue, we'll examine the threat of foreign states trying to inflame UK divisions.
With respect, Minister, answer the question. It's you.
Hello and welcome. I'm Cathy Newman.
So could the outcome of these elections be manipulated? New me, new show, new furniture. Hard news needs a hard chair. I feel like I'm in therapy.
Oh,
There's room for two on this one. Do you think people will take me seriously with my feet up?
Sorry, madam, but we're closing now.
Oh, sorry. Sofa sorted. Let's get this show on the road.
I urge you not to look away. If Hamas hands the hostages over, they will end this conflict. The world has been watching. Good to see you again. How are you? Did she say how he was?
The conditions are awful.
The jets were ordered to come back.
Historic day here today. How will you respond if India does launch airstrikes?
They'll be all out to war.
I'm just going to put some body armor on. I'm Yalda Hakim.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist... Hi, darling.
Beth Rigby, Sky News.
...is being a Sky News journalist. You said to people, I'm not coming back for more, but you have come back for more. Well, let's kick off and make a statement. What can our Prime Minister say to you to not impose tariffs? He's coming out! What more do you need?
We're trying to see as much as we can.
We're in an area that's just been reclaimed.
Mr. Zuma, Sky News.
People are directly protesting.
The whole neighborhood is rallied around her.
It's been impenetrable to journalists over the last 2 years of war in Sudan. I've been waiting for this for 2 years. It doesn't feel like a big homecoming.
It was never going to be pretty. War isn't pretty.
Hello again. Now, a spate of attacks on Jewish sites has raised new concerns that foreign states are instigating hate crimes to inflame divisions in the UK. The Metropolitan Police is investigating if Iran paid British criminals to carry out a spate of arson attacks, including an attempted firebombing at a synagogue in northwest London on Saturday night. Our home editor, Jason Farrell, reports.
A blurry amateur video of what is a crude arson attack on a synagogue, but the message behind it is deeply sinister. Those claiming responsibility call themselves Harakat Ashab al-Yamin al-Islamiyah. They say the synagogue in Kenton is a centre of Zionist influence, and they name individuals connected to it. The group is claiming to be behind 5 other recent incidents, including what happened here in Finchley in North London, where 2 people threw a brick and 2 bottles believed to contain petrol at this synagogue. So who is this group claiming to be pulling the strings?
It looks as though it is a new brand of the already existing organisations. You'll have people at the very top who are likely to be the Iranian, if it's linked with all this, to be the Iranian targeters, the ones who are giving the targets out. You will then have a layer of a recruitment in there. Again, these are people with Telegram accounts, Snapchat accounts, looking to recruit people, teenagers from the age of 16 to 19, 20, 21 years old that are being recruited to perpetrate these attacks.
4 ambulances were set on fire in Golders Green in late March, and there have been 5 incidents in the last few days in London. The attack at the Finchley Reformed Synagogue on April 15th, and on the same day a petrol bomb was thrown into the car park of Iran International, an anti-regime broadcaster based in Wembley. On the 16th there was what seems to have been a hoax that dangerous substances had been dropped onto the Israeli embassy. The next day, an attempted arson attack at the former offices of a Jewish charity in Hendon. And in the early hours of the 19th, an arson attack at a synagogue in Harrow. So are these crimes connected?
It's a very serious and central line of inquiry to look at how these events are connected. If they are, we can see there is a pattern, same methodology, same set broadly of targets. Is really quite a new phenomenon in recent years of people hiring basically thugs for hire to carry out these acts, people who aren't motivated by their links to the cause. So we definitely see that as a core line of inquiry.
These proxy actors may only be in it for the cash. They may not care about the motivations of their paymasters. They may have no ideology themselves whatsoever, but that doesn't mean they're not at risk of prosecution for very serious crimes. If this is the case, and we've seen this with the Russians as well, using proxies, what do you say to those people who are taking money to commit these crimes?
Well, my message to them is very simple. They should not do that. That is clearly very serious criminal activity that comes in scope of the National Security Act. So I would very strongly advise anybody not to get involved in that kind of activity.
Stay still. Stay still.
Dylan Earle was arrested and later convicted under the National Security Act. He was hired by the pro-Russian Wagner Group to set fire to warehouses belonging to a Ukrainian business.
You're assisting a foreign intelligence service.
He was sentenced to 17 years in jail. Synagogues continue to build defences, but with 15 arrests in 4 weeks, the thugs for hire might be finding themselves behind bars. Jason Farrell, Sky News.
Well, Justin Crump is a security intelligence expert and chief executive of Synagogue, a private intelligence firm. It'll be really good to get your thoughts on all of this. How would you classify these latest incidents, arson and the like? Shocking and awful, of course, but they're different, aren't they, in scale and tone to some of the huge state-sponsored terror incidents we've seen in the past?
Yeah, that's exactly correct. I mean, this is an evolution of tactics by countries. And Iran obviously had a long history in state-sponsored terrorism, very centrally organised, run by the IRGC Quds Force, internationally using proxies such as Hezbollah, and sort of extending their conflict with Israel in particular globally, very often. And those networks got corroded over time, they got penetrated, they got harder to operate actually in the modern age with increased surveillance over financial flows and individuals. And of course, you think nowadays when you travel, you have a biometric passport, your biometrics is captured. It's much harder for operatives of that sort of organisation to travel globally, and indeed intelligence officers from any country travelling now, because you can't travel under a false identity anymore. And so it becomes a matter of necessity, partly to recruit people in target countries to inspire them to do acts for you. And it also pays off operationally. It's less spectacular, but it's arguably more successful because it's cheap, it's relatively risk-free for the countries driving this sort of activity, and it's effective in achieving some effects and destabilising our society.
Yeah, I was going to ask you a little bit more about that. What are the motives here?
I mean, they're very varied. For the individuals who get involved in this, very often, as I said, there are a wide variety of reasons why someone might end up in this. Some are ideological, and terrorism, if you think back to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State, actually they were more successful with inspiring plots than they were in driving them on many occasions. So there are some people who are radicalized by what is happening, and we shouldn't discount that in a number of conflicts. But more often it is comparatively small cash payments to individuals who might be involved in gangs or networks or smuggling, certainly in the case of Russia with attacks on the UK and Europe using smuggled bombs on aircraft that people might remember from a couple of years ago. It was people involved in very low-level smuggling who are involved in that, who are paid to deliver something they were given to the parcel depot and send it on its way. And it's a network of people like that, each fulfilling a little part of a plan, often recruited over the internet, thinking they're probably involved in minor criminality often, who then find themselves into something like this. And that's the point the minister made there. This is very serious stuff, but it doesn't seem like it's the people involved. It's often adjacent to things they're already doing, and it's kind of easy to fall into it.
You mentioned Russia there. The spotlight, of course, at the moment is on Iran, but it's my understanding that Russia is using similar tactics as Iran.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, the example I just gave with the DHL and other attacks that went throughout Europe, and there's a lot of this going on in Eastern Europe. It's not just the UK that faces this, and indeed the Iranian operations, the same group has claimed things in London, has claimed a number of things across Europe recently. Are they really a group? Is it a network? Is that a front that's claiming actions that are very distributed? We don't know. But Russia, very much driving this activity, has done for a long time, actually. They chased Chechen dissidents in Turkey by just putting a price on their head, telling criminal groups, if you kill these people, we'll reward you. And that worked. It was very effective. It was much easier than doing that as an intelligence agency. And they push across a wide range of things, of course. So we focused with the Iranians on these arson attacks. Russian-inspired groups have done that as well, or networks. But of course, the Russians also involved in some quite sophisticated activity, like against our communications infrastructure and our subsea infrastructure, like we saw in the last couple of weeks, the big operation by them in the North Atlantic, looking at our cables for reasons unknown, but not for no reason at all.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. And I guess it's harder for the intelligence services and the police to keep a handle on this because, as we've been hearing, it is potentially local thugs, low-level criminals, as opposed to terror cells, which they may have been monitoring.
Yeah, it's deniable, it's distributed. And the whole point of some of this form of warfare is to fall at a level where it looks more spontaneous. It can be hidden in background noise. And we say to skeptics, of course, who will often say, well, actually, something happened and you said it might be the Russians and it's not the Russians. Well, not everything that happens is an adversary, but the things they're doing increase the rate at which things happen to us as a nation. So again, some incidents will happen, potentially say against Jewish communities that aren't directly Iran-inspired. Some will be, and that means there are more actions against vulnerable communities overall. The good news, though, in the UK, we are very good in our countermeasures and our mitigation of this, and we have disrupted a lot of plots. I mean, the bad news is we're often targeted because London is world financial centre, that it's a media centre, and things that happen in London gather a lot more attention they might do elsewhere in Europe or elsewhere in the world. So it's very much a focus for that sort of activity, which is one of the reasons we're good at combating it. But of course, modern technology, networks, modern ways of financing like crypto all make it more challenging for these security services.
Yeah, modern technology letting us down with that wrong footage for a moment. But Justin, thank you very much indeed. Justin Crump, we appreciate your time. This is The World. After a short break, a fiery day in the Commons as the PM faces MPs over security vetting for Peter Mandelson's appointment as US Ambassador.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News presenter? Perfect. Let's bring you some breaking news. Being a Sky News presenter. I began by asking...
Thank you so much.
...trusting us to tell her story. The battle for number 10. Sky News has been given exclusive access. Let me give you a sneak peek. It was the day those present would never forget. Why did you decide to open up and tell your story?
You're watching The World. Now, 2 MPs were ejected from the House of Commons today for calling the Prime Minister a liar over his handling of the Peter Mandelson vetting scandal. Sir Keir Starmer denied misleading Parliament, but accepted he made the wrong decision when he appointed the peer as the UK's ambassador to the US, despite his links to the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Here's our political editor, Beth Rigby.
Have you misled Parliament, Prime Minister?
Keir Starmer pledged to be a different kind of Prime Minister.
We need to clean up politics.
A leader who would restore public trust.
My government will serve you.
Through stability, accountability and integrity.
I never turn on my staff.
The Mandelson scandals helped undo all of that. The Prime Minister come into the House of Commons to explain how Lord Mandelson was made US ambassador, despite failing developed security vetting. His argument clear, it was the Foreign Office's fault.
The Foreign Office officials who made that decision did not pass this information to me, to the Foreign Secretary, to her predecessor, the Deputy Prime Minister, to any other minister, or even to the former Cabinet Secretary, Sir Chris Wormold. I found this staggering.
And had he known, he wouldn't have sent Mandelson to Washington.
If I had known before he took up his post that UKSV recommendation was that developed vetting clearance should be denied, I would not have gone ahead with the appointment.
But the PM's position hard to defend. The former public prosecutor curiously incurious over Mandelson's past.
I know many members across the House will find these facts to be incredible. To that, I can only say they are right. It beggars belief that throughout the whole timeline of events, officials in the Foreign Office saw fit to withhold this information from the most senior ministers in our system in government.
The opposition going for the jugular, pointing out the PM did not apologise for misleading the House.
Earlier today, Mr. Speaker, Downing Street admitted that the Prime Minister inadvertently misled the House. The Prime Minister has chosen not to repeat that from the dispatch box. I will remind him that under the Ministerial Code, he has a duty to correct the record at the earliest opportunity. The earliest opportunity to correct the record was Prime Minister's questions on Wednesday, almost a week ago. This is a breach of the Ministerial Code.
And quoting Keir Starmer's own words about former PM Boris Johnson back at him.
On the 26th of January 2022, the Right Honourable Gentleman said to a previous Prime Minister at this dispatch box, if he misled the House, he must resign. Does he stand by those words, or is there one rule for him and another for everyone else?
His own bench is dissatisfied too.
This has damaged the party that I've been a member of for 50 years. I urge him to take steps to clear this toxic culture out of our party.
It's one thing to say, as he insists on saying, nobody told me. Nobody told me anything. Nobody told me. The question is, why didn't the Prime Minister ask?
This was a Prime Minister that promised to be different, but being forced to the Commons to explain away the Mandelson vetting scandal has thrown his government into crisis and raised real red flags over Keir Starmer's judgment. The scandal has hollowed out his number 10, set his government against Whitehall and left his MPs in quiet despair. There may not be a smoking gun today or appetite to move against him from MPs so close to critical elections, but it leaves an already embattled Prime Minister weaker still. Keir Starmer's said his piece. On Tuesday, the microphones handed to Ollie Robbins, the former Foreign Office chief, sacked by Starmer over Mandelson and now summoned by MPs to give his version of events. With Robbins poised to come out fighting, the PM's not out of the woods yet. Beth Rigby, Sky News, Westminster.
A 21-year-old US singer has been charged with the murder of a 14-year-old girl whose body, police say, was found dismembered in his car last year. David Burke, better known as just David, could face the death penalty. Celeste Rivas Hernandez was reported missing in 2024 when she was 13.
These charges include the most serious charges that a DA's office can bring. That is first-degree murder with special circumstances. The special circumstances being lying in wait, committing this crime for financial gain, or murdering a witness in an investigation. These special circumstances carry with it, along with the first-degree murder charge, a maximum sentence of life without the possibility of parole or the death penalty.
Let's join our US correspondent, Martha Kellner, who's in Los Angeles for us. Just awful, this case. Give us the background to it.
Yeah, an incredibly gruesome and sad case. There's a chance you may not have heard of the music artist David, spelt D4VD, but he is or was incredibly successful with a younger audience. His music having more than 20 million monthly listeners on the music streaming app Spotify. He was also the most Googled person in the year 2025, and the key reason for that is his connection to the murder of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Her body was found very badly decomposed, partially dismembered, in 2 bags in the boot of his Tesla car back in September last year, fueling huge speculation and interest in this case online. And it's taken prosecutors an awful long time, 7 months, to arrive at the point where they feel confident enough in their case that they are charging David, who is 21 years old, real name David Burke, with her first-degree murder with special circumstances. It carries a total possible sentence, if he is convicted, of life in prison without parole or even the death penalty. The district attorney says he's still weighing up whether to pursue the death penalty. But yeah, very sad to hear these charges read out. Celeste Rivas Hernandez disappeared from her home 70 miles from Los Angeles back in 2024. She then began some form of relationship with the music artist, and she visited his home in April 2025. Prosecutors said that she went in that home and was never seen again. And now David being charged with her murder. He continues through his lawyers to maintain his innocence. It may be down the line that a jury decides on that.
OK, Martha, for now, thank you. Stay with us on The World. After the break, Benjamin Netanyahu joins condemnation of an Israeli soldier seen vandalising a statue of Jesus.
This is how you travel when the mafia wants to kill you.
He's almost given up his own freedom, but that's the price he's willing to pay.
Here, they don't just arrest and 'Ndrangheta mafia members, they also live among them.
Time after time, I've seen the devastating impact of extreme weather and climate change.
We don't have much snow at the moment.
They've had a warm spring and exceptionally hot summer, and that means they're expecting to lose more than 3 times the amount of ice than they usually do.
Flames are still forcing people from their homes and leaving many questioning their futures.
Here was my life. We have nothing. I can't say anything. It's so sad.
This disaster is testing the resolve of everyone on this island.
The only way out now is by boat.
Everything you see is devastated, and the misery being felt by people living here is repeated in towns and villages across Central Europe.
Sky News, get the full story first. Turkey is burying its dead. The loss is profound.
Whole families died in this collapse, generations wiped out.
The violence has penetrated the heart of the city rather than being contained to the estates around the edge, and that speaks to the level of anger being felt here. In Sweden, police have seized a lethal stash. This is just a small sample of the deadly arsenal taken off the streets.
This is an example of an advert, really. Anyone of any age could say, I'll do that for £1 million, and then have to go and shoot someone.
Yes.
I'm Siobhan Robbins, Sky's Europe correspondent based here in Berlin.
I bet right now you often find yourself asking why. Why was a certain decision taken? Why did something happen? Why did they say or do that? I'm Neil Patterson, and it's my job as a journalist to find out why. Just explain why.
It's a difficult one.
Well, I mean, it's massive.
It's a very, very severe situation.
So if you want to make sense of this complicated world, Sky News' new podcast, This Is Why, is your daily fix. One story every day, and we can find out why together. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts.
I urge you not to look away. If Hamas hands the hostages over, they will end this conflict. The world has been watching. Good to see you again. How are you? Did she say how he was?
The conditions are awful.
The jets were ordered to come back. Historic day here today. How will you respond if India does launch airstrikes?
They'll be all out to war.
I'm just going to put some body armor on. I'm Yalda Hakim.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist... My darling.
Beth Rigby, Sky News.
Is being a Sky News journalist. You said to people, I'm not coming back for more, but you have come back for more.
Well, let's kick off.
And make a statement. What can our Prime Minister say to you to not impose tariffs? He's coming out! What more do you need?
Hello again. More than 1 million people have been displaced in Lebanon since early March, and for many it's not the first time war with Israel has forced them from their homes. Our international correspondent Diana Magnay has been asking people in Beirut if they believe the ceasefire will last.
There is so much tragedy here in amongst all the rubble. A younger brother, Salam's only sibling, killed in an Israeli airstrike before the ceasefire.
He went down south to check on our village, and there was an airstrike that got him. And he was martyred, his body torn apart. He was so young. My young brother is gone. I'm sure he now rests in heaven. God forgive Israel. What do they want from us? They should take themselves and leave.
They will keep bombing us. They will keep killing us. They'll take our lands. So there's nothing.
Do you think this ceasefire will hold?
No.
You sound very sure.
Yes.
Why? Why
because
are you
it's
so
Israel.
Sure?
Israel.
There are always wars with Israel.
100%.
Most of the people that we've spoken to are pro-Hezbollah, and you would expect that. This is Dahir, this is the Shiite neighborhood of Beirut. This is famously a Hezbollah stronghold. We needed their permission to come and film here. And what we're hearing is that the streets are pretty busy now, but in the evenings it gets quiet again. People are now just coming back to see what's left of their homes, collect what they can, and then go out back to wherever it is that they're having to stay. And these are people who have had multiple rounds of displacement for decades now. You know, this building was destroyed in this last war. 3 buildings here were destroyed in the previous war, 23-24. And this whole suburb came to being because of rounds of displacement of Shia from the south of the country through the 70s and the 80s. After the ceasefire, a lot of people left to see what had happened to their homes in the south. But a lot then came back too, Hezbollah warning repeatedly that it just wasn't safe, that the ceasefire was too fragile. which was why people like Mustafa decided to stay put in his tent in Beirut. Is this the first time you've been displaced?
No. We have been displaced in 2006 and 2024. Also now in 2026. We don't mind. Stone, we can rebuild it. The stone, we can rebuild it. But we are strong. We have muscles. As they have muscles and weapons, we have weapons and muscles. We can defend our land. If I didn't want to defend my land, what I should be alive?
So I
shouldn't be alive.
You'll fight with Hezbollah?
Yeah, of course. I should be with Hezbollah. I consider Hezbollah is the government now.
But for Israel, of course, Hezbollah is the problem, and for many Lebanese too. And as their endless conflict drags on, it is the young, the innocent, who find themselves caught in the middle. Diana Megni, Sky News, Beirut.
And the conduct of occupying Israeli forces in Lebanon is under even more scrutiny after a soldier was pictured smashing a statue of Jesus. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he condemns it in the strongest terms as the IDF investigates. Our Middle East correspondent Adam Parsons has the full detail.
This image of an Israeli soldier smashing a statue of Jesus in southern Lebanon has caused outrage, and it's gone viral online. It was taken in the Christian village of Debel, that's very near the border with Israel, and the IDF has confirmed that the photo is authentic and insists that action will be taken against those involved. In a statement, the IDF said the soldier's conduct is wholly inconsistent with the values expected of its troops, and it said that appropriate measures will be taken against those involved in accordance with the findings. Now, the Israeli military has also promised to work with the village to restore the statue and says it's got no intention of damaging civilian infrastructure, including religious symbols and buildings. Now, these are images that we have verified of what the statue of Jesus looked like before it was desecrated. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, "Like the overwhelming majority of Israelis, I was stunned and saddened." He predicted appropriately harsh disciplinary action against the offender, but claimed that Israel was helping its own Christian population to thrive. Now, Israel is just days into a 10-day ceasefire in Lebanon, and many Lebanese citizens have returned south to discover destruction in their homes and villages. Southern Lebanon is home to many Christian communities that have an uneasy, fragile relationship with Hezbollah. And those villages have been left even more isolated by Israel's military campaign. 100 years ago, Christians were the biggest religious group in Lebanon. Now they account for around a third of the population. Iran has, of course, used the photo to condemn Israel. Its embassy in Britain said endless hatred from evil soldiers. And that is the power of an image. However much Israel apologizes for what happened here, this photo of an IDF soldier taking a sledgehammer to the head of a statue of Jesus has already gone around the world, and it has reverberated.
Adam Parsons reporting. Some quick breaking news to bring you now. Apple's chief executive, Tim Cook, is stepping down after nearly 15 years. He'll move into a new role as executive chairman in September. Under his leadership, the company's annual profits quadrupled and its value increased tenfold. And that is it from me and the team tonight. The World will be back tomorrow from 9 p.m. Stay with Sky News now if you can. Anna Botting is here next with the wrap, all of today's stories and the best of tomorrow's papers.
We're trying to see as much as we can.
We're in an area that's just been reclaimed.
Mr. Zuma, Sky News.
People are directly protesting.
The whole neighborhood is rallied around her.
It's been impenetrable to journalists over the last 2 years of war in Sudan.
I've been waiting for this for 2 years. It doesn't feel like a big homecoming.
It was never going to be pretty.
War isn't pretty.